Alright, Trixie, I need you to see if you can integrate into this.
Is that the latest one? Right. College student. Stupid question. Integrating. So this makes what, the sixth mobile platform you've tried?
I'm just trying to take every precaution I can.
It's been almost a year, Inc.
Yes, and we haven't heard from Prime since he left. I'm not taking any chances.
Integration complete. All I'm saying is that you can at least take a break.
And I will, when I feel good and ready.
In other words, never.
Now, I still need an inventory check and a diagnostic on my shield, ring, communicator.
Inc., I noticed something while integrating into the phone. During integration, I'm forced to split cyber warfare functionality between the main hub and the mobile platforms.
And the point of telling me this technobabble is...
While I was split between your computer and your phone, something attempted to access my higher functions.
Is this the part where you tell me you're infected with a virus and plan on wiping out all of humanity?
No, that part comes later. Kidding, kidding.
So you blocked them.
That's the interesting part. I was getting ready to when they jumped ship. No attempt to rewrite anything or seize control of any major systems.
Then why are you telling me this?
Because they did leave something behind.
Something as in a stocking stuffer, or something as in the little gifts that horses leave all over Williamsburg?
I think they want you to decide. Pulling it up now.
Oh. Well, okay then.
Be careful, Inc. I can't pinpoint the source of the intrusion, but this book is giving off some seriously freaky readings. It seems to be alive, for lack of a better word, and giving off some sort of space-time disturbance.
Thanks for worrying, Trixie, but this I can handle. Scrub it and send it to my tablet.
Seriously, does no version of you know how to say please?
Hello, geeks and geekettes, and welcome to IconicAssembly, Earth's finest fanbase. Let's talk Image Comics for a bit. Admittedly, I'm not very versed in titles that are not part of the big two. I know I should probably read Invincible, or Lazarus, or Saga or something, but I guess I'm just mainstream like that. I do occasionally dabble in the realms of the independent or just lesser-known publishers, but I suppose part of the reason I gravitate towards the big two is because, for better or worse, what they produce has standing effects on the culture. And what is this show really about if not geek culture and, as my theme song also neatly put it, iconic phenomena? I love iconography. I love legacy. These are things that, aside from a couple of breakout hits such as The Walking Dead, there really isn't a surplus of in the lesser publishers. But I do occasionally read things outside of my general area of expertise, either out of curiosity or simply a desire to mix things up. So let's hit the pages of RocketGirl Volume 1 and see if it's worth the time.
Tougher than Cat's shield, heavier than Thor's hammer, smarter than Tony Stark, even mixed with Bruce Banner. Quicker than the Flash, darker than Batman's past, hotter than the heat vision of Superman days of future past. Comics and comedy, nostalgia, brutal honesty, the web series you wanna see, iconic phenomenally. Maybe just a reminder of what you like to see. So check the comics coming at you on your computer screen. This is iconic, phenomenally phenomenons. Whatever planet you're rocking on, whatever channel you're talking on. Iconic, phenomenally phenomenons. Whatever planet you're rocking on, whatever channel you're talking on. Iconic, phenomenally phenomenons. Whatever planet you're rocking on, whatever channel you're talking on. Iconic, phenomenally phenomenons. Whatever planet you're rocking on, whatever channel you're talking on. What?
The comic begins with the title character narrating to us. My name is the young Johansson. And if you think I'm going to keep trying to say that for 5 issues, you got another thing coming, sister. Henceforth, you shall be known as DJ. I'm 15 years old and a cop from the future. Oh, it's gonna be that kind of narration, isn't it? I'm going back in time to save the world. I just hope I'm not too late. So a few scientists are standing in front of Zordon's container. I mean, some new scientific breakthrough. Okay, on 3. 1, 2. What are you, 5? Professor, we were all supposed to do it together. Glad to see the future is being brought to us by such competent, dignified individuals as these. Hey, is this how it's supposed to work? You didn't already know. You pushed the big red button, and you had no idea how it was supposed to work. What kind of lab? Oh, so the machine blows up, and somehow this has the same sound effect as someone being punched. So, what sound would getting punched make? So DJ emerges from the wrecked machine. I'm Detective DJ of the New York teen... Wait, so you're a detective?
You've got to be kidding.
So after DJ announces that everyone in the room is under arrest, she passes out because... science or something, and Annie asks what they should do now. From there, we cut to 2013, the past. Yep, I'm confused. I'm guessing what it means is that this is 2013 before DJ did the time leap and wound up in the 80s. Even so, that is confusing as all get out. This is a time travel story. Adding flashbacks just convolutes the whole thing. What was keeping you from telling this in sequential order anyway? But whatever. DJ is arguing with the Teen Police Force's commissioner about quantum mechanics being evil. There's only one way to do this, and it's not easy. Watch where you are pointing that thing. Whoa, R2-D2's packet. Wait. Pointing what thing? Her hand? So is she the kid from Chronicle?
Gotta get to.
You know, I just noticed that the commissioner kid is chomping on a cigar and has a drawn on, I mean totally legitimate, mustache. It's the little things that sell stuff like this. But speaking of the little things, I do have one question. Why a jetpack? I mean, in the previous page, we can clearly see that these people have flying cars and hovering robots. This is anti-gravity technology. Why would they still use something which relies on the very explosively dangerous method of jet propulsion? Especially when it is something that the user must strap to their back. Apparently, DJ has an inside source on the subject, but the commissioner is none too convinced. He laments that the world as it is now is better than the alternative, which was the cesspool the place was 30 years ago. Wait! How the heck would he know what it was like 30 years ago? I mean, sure, it could have been taught, but he's reflecting on it like he was there. Or is he just a really small adult? Mind you, DJ isn't that tall, as you'll come to find out, so this guy must be downright puny if that's the case. Oh, and while we're on the subject of this debate, DJ states that their crime is using time travel to advance their position. Setting aside the moral and ethical questions brought about by this, in what way is her mission saving the world? I'm not saying she's wrong, she isn't, but we haven't seen any proof yet ourselves. We don't know what they've done, and when you bill something as saving the world, it's a safe assumption that whatever the danger is must be pretty frickin' spectacular. Quantum mechanics brought NYC back from the brink. That doesn't make it right. Right. What is right anyway? What's right is right.
Captain Obvious. Captain Obvious is what I heard.
Ultimately, Gomez concedes and lets her investigate. So, back in the 80s, wait, did I miss something? How did this whole thing go from
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
to having what is basically a glorified slumber party? Also, I know DJ is supposed to be super good at her job or something, but Annie doesn't know that, so yeah. Real responsible letting her sit in a window. Anyway, DJ is narrating a bunch of exposition we pretty much already knew, and Annie is talking to someone over the phone about the whole thing. DJ's suit starts to pick up dispatch calls, and she suits up to check it out. Come back in here. Let the police handle it. I am the police. That was deserving of an award. DJ flies to the crime scene demanding a situation report, and you can't be serious. They're actually telling her? Will cops in this universe really just give out situation reports to any old Joe Schmo that walks up to them at a crime scene? Officer, give me a situation report. Well, the shooter ducked into that building there and he's got superior position. I see. Well, talk to you later, Dave. Say hi to the wife and kids for me. You bet, Joe. The shooter punches around through the window of the arcade where he's managed to dig himself in. DJ decides to head inside. Cover me! This isn't regulation. Worst cops ever. Not on the grounds that they run away instead of covering for her, no. On the grounds that they do absolutely nothing to try and get her, a child, out of there and to safety. Yes, we know she's some elite fighter or something, but they don't. I know New York was bad, but really? Is she NYPD? Shut up.
You're all idiots.
Naturally, DJ finds and beats the crud out of the shooter. Then, hold it. Yeah, and what are you going to do about it? Arrest me? Is there a line missing? I know these guys are incompetent, but that retort came right the heck out of nowhere. So the cop tries to cuff her, but she gets loose and beats them up. Annie and company arrive to pick her up in the cab. But where are the rest of the police? I guess they've got better things to do. I should probably wait. They'll want a report. Kid, there's fish out of water, and then there's boat in the sky. Is beating up an officer seriously something you wouldn't get in trouble for in your time? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people in this time would love to live where you come from. You know, in the far future of 2013. They get in the cab but have to kick out one of their own. Don't be a pain, Gene. Here's a dime. Call Sharma and tell him we got her. Yeah, that's totally a dime. I mean, I've heard the phrase, everything but the kitchen sink, but wow. So back in the car, just the four of us? I like my chances. Well, just the four of you plus the cab driver and a minor. Creep. The issue comes to a close with DJ and company heading off in the cab while the commissioner and that kid from before sit in a cab of their own. The commissioner is concerned about having sent DJ alone, and the end. Of this issue anyway, so let's talk number 2. Actually, I could probably sum up the entire remainder of this first volume pretty quickly. Let's see, the second issue begins with DJ making pancakes in Annie's apartment. Making yourself at home? Where do you find the energy?
I had a couple Red Bulls. You ever had a Red Bull? I never had a Red Bull before, but I had a Red Bull last night. I really like Red Bull.
They all argue for a bit over what they believe their next move should be. Then they decide it'd be best to head back to Quantum Mechanics' lab to salvage what they can, and we're given another one of these flashbacks. And to be honest, they probably could have taken all of these flashbacks and condensed them into a solid first issue. All the flashbacks seem to do is disorient the story, and from a writing perspective, it just doesn't work. No one's having the flashbacks. There's nothing tying them to the scenes that precede or succeed them. They're just randomly dropped into the story. I guess one could say that this makes it less flashback and more non-linear storytelling, but the point still stands. Even if only a vague image or an obscure line, something should connect the scenes. I'm a writing student. Non-linear storytelling is a tricky beast, but this is not a problem I expect a professional book to have. But back to the story, DJ and O'Patrick are following up on DJ's lead from the previous issue, listening in on the meeting of the Quantum Mechanics board. Basically, they got where they are by reverse engineering a machine called the Q engine, which they somehow managed to send back in time to themselves some time ago. Unfortunately, DJ discovers that they're somehow blocking her, and the two officers are forced to retreat. It occurs to me that these must be the quietest jetpacks ever if no one heard them take off. So the two of them return to the police plaza and get into a spat, which basically amounts to, "I can do this. Can you do this? I can do this. Can you do this? I can do this. Can she?" Honestly though, I have no idea why she's being like this myself. I get that she's apparently got trust issues, but why? Why is this bothering her as much as it is? It's quite clearly making her a little more reckless than would probably be productive. What I'm saying is, I think we're lacking backstory here. So back in the past, or present, whatever, in the 80s, a detective is looking for the girls, and over on Plot Convenience Avenue, the ladies are in the middle of a situation at the market. DJ is in the standoff with an armed robber. She, of course, tricks them and gets the hostage free. "You break, you buy." Not sure if that's an offensive stereotype or just a bad joke. So she takes them down and collapses a few of the store's shelves, only to wind up at the feet of the detective who somehow found them. Number 3 starts off with the detective interrogating DJ. "Everyone from Child Protective Services to NASA is looking for you, RocketGirl. But we're the NYPD, so it might be a long time before anyone remembers what we've done with you."
Run away! We didn't do it!
The detective reveals that he handed over RocketGirl's tech to Quantum Mechanics after arguing with his partner about how it'd be unwise to keep her there any longer, and it seems that she escapes. How'd she fly out the window without her jetpack? Yes, how did she manage to jump out of the first floor window? But no, she just broke the window and hid under the table. What follows is a pretty impressive getaway, complete with Spider-Man-esque leaping around and acrobatic feats. She makes her way outside, and what kind of world is it where you can't even trust the cops? You know what? No comment. In another flashback, LaShawn and the Commissioner are in Quantum Mechanics HQ. They and security get into a shouting match, then the Commissioner calls up Terma D2. The thing starts a shootout, and the Commissioner helps LaShawn out. "Come in 2ND. Requesting backup. Do you read me?" "Affirmative." "Wait. 2ND? 1ST? First and second?" Wow, that is so lazy. So surprise, surprise, they were staging a diversion for DJ to get to the Q engine. DJ meets her informant, and after being welcomed inside, she's greeted by a couple of rent-a-cops in even goofier looking helmets. They manage to clock her and pretty much knock her out in one hit. Once she's down, they reveal themselves to be the cops she beat up upon her arrival in the 80s.
Dun, dun, dun.
But they aren't here to stop her. No, they're here to make sure she goes back. DJ makes her way back to Annie's apartment, where she discovers that they've recovered her gear, so the police didn't get it. But the happy reunion is interrupted when the rent-a-cops head back into the past to make sure the job, whatever the heck that is, gets done. You confused yet? That's to be expected. It's a time travel story. But hey, that's number 3. And I think we're about due for a break, so we'll be right back after these messages. Number 4 is basically an extended chase scene. The future clowns start blasting, but DJ is suited up. "We're supposed to get that jetpack tech to those scientists. You're gonna frag the master plan trying to blow away the girl." And there goes the big plot twist for the issue. We probably saw it coming, but yeah, apparently her jetpack is the all-important gear that Quantum Mechanics sent back. In the future, or past, this is after they sent DJ back in time, right? So, is it still a flashback? Why is this the past? I don't... Ugh. In the magic world of 2013, Gomez and LaShawn head to a bar, where Gomez gets drunk and LaShawn gets testy over his uncertainty that they made the right call. They're hiding because Quantum Mechanics instituted a citywide lockdown. Sure. Back in the 80s, DJ is on the run from Future Cops 1 and 2, having taken the chase into the subway tunnels. At what's left of the lab, Annie returns to find the others trying to fix the Q engine. Far as I can tell, they're trying to fix it so they can send DJ back to her own time. I also just noticed that a piece of the Q engine is a refrigerator, and it's connected to the rest of the device with duct tape. Next up, where are you two going? That way. Yeah, any way but that way.
You honor us with your bravery.
Back underground, DJ crashes the Rent-A-Cops into a train. Still less collateral damage than Man of Steel. And she escapes into Grand Central. Meanwhile, the comic ends with the police force in the future taking the fight to Quentin Mechanic's doorstep. The final issue picks up where the previous one left off. DJ hit the floor so hard she left a crack in it. And she somehow gets up and shakes it off. You know, that is a pretty good question. Are we sure this kid is in no way superhuman? I mean, she's done some pretty impressive stuff throughout the run of this book. She flipped a table about twice her size with no effort. She Spider-Man'd her way around a room in which no one could seem to lay a hand on her. And she threw someone about twice her size without breaking a sweat. I'm just saying. The civilians in the place help her out in a scene very reminiscent of the train scene from Spider-Man 2, actually. They disguise her and misdirect the police, sending them on a goose chase. They head down into the tunnels and find the wreck, which somehow doesn't include the crashing train. Maybe it was actually the train to the wizard Shazam's lair or something, I don't know. Actually, that'd be awesome. Someone like DJ as one of the Marvel family? Count me in! What happened in here? Whatever it wasn't good.
No shit, Sherlock.
So they find that someone's managed to survive, and it turns out to be one of their future selves. He says that this is strange because he doesn't remember any of this, however. But I'd rather settle on how this guy looks absolutely the same after 30 years. In the weird paradox that is the past future, the police and Quentin Mechanics are in the midst of a standoff, and overseeing it is the Q-Mech board. They're bickering over the plan, but whoever is in charge of the meeting closes the debate, stating that it wasn't the jetpack they needed to send back. It was DJ herself. And thus is the actual plot twist of the series, so yeah. Surprise! It wasn't a mole within the board that sent DJ back, it was the board itself. Why? Heck if I know. Outside, the fighting stops and everyone looks over the side of the building at...
What are we looking at here, Mr. Manley?
Back at the lab, the Brainiacs discover that the Q engine has been prematurely started up and it's gonna blow. After some technobabble, they discover that Annie started it, having decided it's what DJ would have done. They get out just in time for the thing to blow the lab sky high. Oh, and don't forget that explosive sound effect. Later, the detective shows up to arrest Annie. Her boss fires and expels her, but she doesn't much seem to care at this point. Something stops the elevator ride and DJ bursts in. She disarms the cops, frees Annie, and beats feet out of there. Back at what I can only assume is Annie's apartment, which is probably the worst place on earth for them to be right now, DJ is discarding her RocketGirl gear, deciding to live a normal life from here on out. The comic ends with DJ and Annie walking around in the streets of New York while NYC 2013 is experiencing a blackout. And that's Volume 1 for you. So, verdict time, anyone? Well, let's start with the cons. Really, there's only one major problem throughout the book. The time travel element and plot are extremely convoluted and confusing. And part of this is simply because of the non-linear narrative. Maybe it's just that my small brain is hardwired for simplicity, but time travel stories probably aren't the best place for a non-linear narrative. And even from a purely writing perspective, I can see absolutely no reason they couldn't just tell the story in sequential order. As for the other cons, the only thing to note is more personal gripe, but I kind of think they should have spent a little more time showing some of the dynamic between DJ and Annie. We got more character building time from Gomez and LaShawn together than these two, and this volume plays them up as the leads. Whenever they were on the same page, the dialogue wasn't exactly bonding. Most of it wasn't even really character building. It felt like plot progression. And the prose? Well, the book is actually quite action-packed and funny. It makes for an entertaining read, and DJ is likable. I like the character dynamics they've set up. DJ has a very simplistic black and white worldview for the most part. Like she said, what's right is right. It's just that basic to her. Now, part of that could be age, another part of that could be the cushy and controlled world that she grew up in. But the point remains that seeing her worldview bouncing off of Annie's somewhat grayer one is interesting. I look forward to seeing what kind of effect they'll have on one another in the future. Past. Whatever. And speaking of looking, the art of this book is, for the most part, just wonderful. Amy Reeder is quite good at capturing dynamic motion in her art and makes a whole page appear to be in motion, regardless of whether she's flying around at top speed or fighting someone on ground. I'd say that on a professional scale it deserves about a 7. It's decently above average, and I look forward to reading more because RocketGirl is a graphic novelty. Volume 1 wrapped up in May, and the first trade was released around June. Now, at the end of the last issue, it does say that the next book is scheduled for release in September. Come September, I checked around and made sure that everything was okay because it wasn't on Comixology yet. And it turns out that something did manage to stall the release, I don't know what. But I did some research, and don't worry, the book is fortunately not yet canceled. At least not during the time of this episode. Number 6 and number 7 are due out this November. A little bit more of a wait than promised, but it's probably worth it if this is something you might be interested in. And with that out of the way, there's just one more thing to take care of before we wrap up this episode. Welcome to the Trophy Room, my own little superhero showcase minus the spoilers. Today's title, Spider-Girl, Family Values. The book hits the ground running with a fun, witty, engaging reintroduction to Anya's character. Unfortunately, the book also deceives its audience in a very abrupt and what I believe to be a not very good way. It tricks us into thinking that this is going to be about an element of Anya's character that isn't really emphasized very much with a lot of the larger characters. It reiterates for us on many an occasion that Anya is a people person. So naturally we're led to believe that this is going to mean less ray guns and more domestic level problems, petty and small time crimes. All told through the perspective of a snarky, awkward teenager. But check that crap at the door. After a cataclysmic life event, the book pulls a full 180. It takes that lighthearted energy that the book had within the first couple of issues and pushes it down to a really dark, somber, melancholic place straight out of nowhere. Such is the way of Marvel these days, unfortunately. The saving grace here is that this book, unlike those, actually has solid writing and it does it well, so I'm not going to rant and rave about it. The artwork is also fairly decent, if a bit par for the course, nothing really special about it. It isn't a book I would recommend on sentiment, but I will recommend it for writing. Does that make sense for everyone here? I don't have to clarify that? Okay. Will I review it in the future? Yeah, that's up to you, leave comments. And now that I've said my piece, I'm Ink and this has been IconicAssembly. As always guys, thanks for watching.
Ink, I finished my analysis.
So what's the damage?
Well, duh. I was right.
Of course.
The comic was giving off a temporal disturbance because the story itself was about time travel.
That makes absolutely no sense.
It was infused with, well, me and Prime took to calling it the Phantom Force, and I'm now realizing how absolutely ridiculous our job is.
Wait, job? You're getting paid for this?
FF Comics.
We really ought to come up with a new acronym for that.
Ink. Focus. FF Comics are really unpredictable. Some of them can give you new powers.
And the ones that don't? Got it! Well, where do they come from?
Usually they pop up in my data feeds while I'm searching for stuff you can review, No idea where this one came from, though. Shall I run more tests?
You have to ask.
Right. I'll let you know if I learn anything.
You do that.